So first off, your name and where you're from.
Matthew Russell from Portland, Maine.
Tell me the story that you basically ran up and told me the other night about your experience with Parkinson's.
So in January of 2014, after dealing with, having a hand tremor my whole life and a slight stutter and things like that, I went to a neurologist finally, and based on all of the symptoms that I was showing, I was incorrectly diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's.
Now you say incorrectly. How do you know you were incorrectly diagnosed?
3 years later, I had a team of doctors all just say, your previous 2 doctors were diagnosing the forests. They should have been diagnosing the trees. And I lived with an incorrect diagnosis for about 3 years.
So take me back, because I don't want to jump past that. You got diagnosed. What were you thinking? You at what age?
I was 29.
29. That's very early onset.
Yeah.
And what are you thinking about where your life was heading and then now where it's heading based on this diagnosis?
Well, I was living in Chicago at the time, and I was dating a girl, and the day that the doctor said something about it, I went out to dinner with her, and she got up from the table and said, "You don't need a girlfriend, you need a nurse." And that was the last time I saw her. And that's when I started to make my plans to move back home to Sacramento from Chicago.
What did that feel like when she said that?
Crushed. And I would never be able to find someone who actually cared about me or anything like that. And it was just, made me have my outlook that at this point, I wasn't really going to be trying to find romantic love, and that I wanted to go out and just go back to that familial love and that friendship that I had. And so I made plans then, and 2 months later I moved back to Sacramento, California, to rejoin the ComedySportz team out there, because those were the people I was the closest with and the people I trusted the most at the time.
Tell me about why ComedySportz became your family at that point.
It was prior to that as well. Just the camaraderie and everything like that. Building the theater, I literally had bled, sweated, and cried in there while building it. And just, those were the people who were there for me. And when I told some of the players what the doctor had said, it was, if you need anything, you could always come back home.
It's quite a bit different than you don't need a girlfriend, you need a nurse.
And as opposed to, if you need anything, you can always come back home. Not telling me to come back home, it's that an offer that if I did, that they would be there.
What are the principles of ComedySportz that kind of stick in your heart as you think about why that works for you?
There's always the core values of collaboration, inspiration, gratitude, and fun. But more than anything, it's a line from the ComedySportz anthem where it says, CSE, we are family. And that's the part that always sticks in my jaw, I guess, more than anything else. I don't have a good relationship with my actual blood family. And I've been with ComedySportz since I was a little stuff. I was a 23-year-old thinking I knew everything. And I grew and learned a lot about, who I was and what actual, family was during my 6 years before I moved to Chicago, and then even more so when I came back.
What is family to you now? How do you define it at this point?
Family doesn't have to be blood. There's the quote that says blood is thicker than water, and that quote is drastically incorrectly been modified over the years. It's the blood of battle is thicker than the water of the womb. They've changed the motion of it, and these are the people who have been there with me through broken limbs, who I've been with through breakups, through births, through miscarriages, through cancer, through deaths, and more importantly, through just doing comedy and having some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. That's the blood of battle. That's thicker than the water of the womb, and that's why ComedySportz to me is family.